Hello everyone, welcome to our opening ceremony for Amsterdam Dance Event with this panel discussion on communication, management and promotion in new electronic music aesthetics, powered by Clubbing Scene Heritage, Enigma and KG Magazine, with the support of ADE Partners and Friends program. My name is Laura. I work as a booking and event manager at BPitch, and I'm the co-founder of Enigma Collective. And today we have an esteemed panel of experts who will shed a light on the intricate aspect of managing and promoting electronic music while preserving its unique aesthetics. These experts have managed artists, worked with labels, founded labels, and mastered the art of effective communication and promotion strategies. So we are very fortunate to have them here today. So let me introduce them briefly. At my left, we have Tim Dreske. That is the co-founder at Outline AM. He has been an instrumental in connecting talent with opportunities. With a deep understanding of the artist's journey, he offers a unique perspective on the challenges and triumph within the electronic music scene. Woo! Do we want to add Nothing. Thank you. So you're alive. Good. So next we have Ben Jetzer. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong.
Jenster, right?
Yeah, Bas.
Jenster.
Bas Jenster. Yeah. Very Dutch.
It is the co-founder and promoter at Volt Session, an organization known for curating some of the most memorable techno music events. I think everyone here has been at least once to his party. So with the passion for preserving the authenticity of the electronic music scene, he brings a promoter's perspective that's essential to our discussion. We have other 4 people. You have to do it normally after every introduction, okay? Next we have Melissa Taylor, representing Tailored Communication. She is deeply entrenched in the world of electronic music PR and artist representation. She's more than well versed in the art of communication, and we are very happy to have her today. Next we have Kati Lange, a true visionary in the field of artist management. She is the co-founder and manager of Triangle Agency, and she has played a pivotal role in shaping the careers of many electronic music artists. Then we have 2 people that need little introduction, I think. I hope. Our next panelist has graced dance floor around the world, captivating audiences with her electrifying DJ set and also her production. She's not only a great artist, but also label owner, steering Nechto Records towards new horizons. Please join me in welcoming Nastia. And last but not least, we have someone that is very known for its commitment to the roots of techno. Also a label founder, a label manager and founder with this Subject Records. Please help join me to welcome DJ Bon.
What up, bro? Y'all all right?
So let's get started. I will start with a few general questions. First of all, I would like to know what do you think are the trends, the most exciting trends within the ever-evolving electronic music landscape, And how have you seen communication and promotion strategies changing over the year?
Just a little question.
Over the last year.
Yeah.
Well, I can say something maybe about at least what's happening in Amsterdam. I think we've seen a huge change in predominantly music production, especially since lockdown ended. And this started during lockdown because nobody had a dance floor to go to besides the loads of illegal raves actually that was happening here, but that's something else. But at the moment we have so much good music going out, almost weekly, from really young producers, but also established producers that are really rediscovering or reinventing themselves. And it makes your job as a promoter at least a lot more fun, because you just have so much to look at and so much to work with in terms of lineups and your we have a platform, for example, as SoundCloud, and we just try to push everything out what we like at least. And I think we premiere around like maybe 30 to 40 tracks per month, and this is just anybody that just sends. We have like 2 or 3 persons that are daily checking new music. Wow. And finding talents from all over the globe, basically. And I think that's one of the nicest developments that I have seen as a promoter since the lockdown ended. Yeah.
So you think, if I got it right, there is much more, let's say, freedom in this sense?
Yeah. I think one of the nice things, for example, was also, for example, A-Slice. A lot of producers that don't know that their tracks are being played now know it, if they joined it, of course. I think everybody is just a lot more motivated to really pursue their dreams in our scene or in the techno industry for us. Yeah.
I think, can we have volume on air?
Maybe, okay, now it works. From a perspective of an agent or agency, maybe it's similar to that, because it feels like performing itself has become more important again, and there is no judgment, but for almost 2 years or more than 2 years, like performing was limited to what you have to show on live streams or social media. And I think it took a little bit time to change the mindset for the audience also, and for the performers, that actually you can go and perform and really feel what you do when you're there, and connect to the community and share this with them more in that space, than having the need to show it on platforms. So the actual feeling is back, and I think it takes time to allow you, or to understand that this is okay and this is good enough. And I think that's something maybe that we can see now, and it's very nice for the experience in the venue.
I can add something else too. So I think the perspective just got wider. Less borders, stereotypes, and limitations. We can see that some of the directions of techno got almost ADM, big stages, big crowd, really, really huge. And then other side is going, I call it MTV hate parade, when everybody is playing the remixes on commercial songs, which is also fun. Kids love it, it's fine. But we have less snobbish view on techno music and in electronic music in general. So there is a place for everybody, and actually all directions go successfully. and different waves. And I think it's cool that our scene can actually offer much more than before. You can choose anything and what you like. So we can offer much more than before pandemic, I guess.
Yeah, as far as the last year, I would just have to go back to like when the lockdown ended, because we were lucky enough to have the advantage of doing a sit down during the lockdown. So we were able to get us very few people. I know, like you said, people were locked up and, you know, there were a lot of illegal parties. We were lucky to have, you know, 75 people twice a night, 3 times a night to come to Radion and hear a big sound system and almost have like a lesson from, you know, yours truly, Professor Bone. And then I would play a set after. But it was just the community aspect of it was bigger than what I was doing. It was the gathering, you know what I mean? So these young people who are locked down, they didn't have anyone to escort them into the scene. A lot of people who were in the scene left during COVID lockdown. So there was no in-between. There were no ushers at the door. There were no people to say, this is how you rave safe, this is... Amsterdam's a different animal because people here are very responsible when it comes to certain aspects of raving. You go somewhere else and it's out of control. And you see the young people come in and they're like, we heard you take loads of drugs and you do this and you rave. You know, here, it's more responsible, which is a huge bonus. So I've seen that, especially with the young people coming in who might not even have been to a rave. They're so responsible, you know? And I like seeing all the fresh faces, the kids who come up and ask me what my name is after I play. What's your name? Are you on Insta? Are you on TikTok? Are you on the TikTok? Or the people who I might play like a classic Detroit song, you know, and then it's Strings of Life or something. They go, I love the piano track. And I'm like, piano track? And the Strings of Life? No, the piano track. I'm like, okay, yeah, that. But I think, like you said, there's new productions. I get so many promos of compilations that come through with really good quality. And then I look, and it's Dutch artists. I swear. And I tell my wife, I'm like, this is crazy. This is, you know, I'm not name dropping, but you know, I'm like, this is Lobster, this is such and such. I've seen these names on these flyers locally, and I didn't know that they were making these tracks. Yep. So it did, like, ignite something. Yep. Because there's brand new, Nastia sends me promos from the Nesto, and it's fire, you know? And I'm like, these young kids are coming with some good stuff. That's what needed to happen, I think, to wake things up. So that's the difference. That and pre-sales suck. That's all I can say.
So don't do pre-sales, guys.
I don't perform, but I get feedback from some of the artists, and maybe you feel similar. Like they say, especially like in the last months, the audience is more excited again. Do you have the same feeling?
Yeah. We actually played a party together in Belgium, in Liège. And they closed down the train station in Liège, and we played in the train station. And we were both kind of like, this is weird, but cool. Big crowd, huge energy. And while I played before she did, and while I was playing, I heard this horn going off, and I thought somebody was on stage going, or in the crowd. And I'm like, these people are, it was the trains pulling into the station, honking their horns. So the energy is just radiating. Like you said, the crowds are electric. I call them kids, but you know, it's all ages. But the new people in the scene are really setting it off. I mean, seriously, when you played, they were going nuts, you know? You were laying it down, you know, so they needed to go nuts. But you're right, there's a new electricity that's popping off with people, even in the record shops. I went digging a few days ago, and the record shop owners were telling me that these kids are coming in and requesting like funky techno or techno with some feeling. And I'm like, yes, here we go, finally, yeah. So that's true, it's a good call.
I think that has a lot to do also with that. I think nightlife is just getting more and more out in the open, also for people who are not necessarily a part of it. And it's also more accepted, you know, like for example, a train conductor like blowing the horn because he sees people partying. Like normally, maybe back in the day, people would be like, "Oh no, those kids from the night," you know. Like, and now it's way more accepted, and it's more out in the open, and yeah, it's getting more professional, I would say, definitely over the, well, I've been doing this now maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely a lot has changed. And I think after, yeah, you know, lockdown ended, I think we're just like in this sort of, acceleration point in terms of amount of good parties that you can go to every weekend, at least for the Amsterdam scene.
Yeah.
But also just, you see more and more licenses coming up. You see more people trying their own thing. And I think that has a lot to do with just public acceptance, you know?
Also things like this that nurture it.
Yeah.
And give people info and insight and access.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's huge because even outside of the ADE, it's a lot that happens where they're supported. To feel supported in your city, to want to do this is huge.
That's a huge motivator, yeah.
We were taking the tram yesterday. And she took a video because the tram was wrapped with ADE. And she's like, where else are you going to see this? Where the city itself is supporting something like this, you know? Not in the US? No.
I think the growing perception of electronic music and maybe at the moment, especially techno music, probably comes with the pro that everything gets more professionalized and more accepted. I think so too. It's also, it finds a wider echo in the overall society, I think, especially amongst the younger peers, of course. And I think now it's our turn to guide these younger kids deeper down into the rabbit hole and to discover more than just EDM-ish techno and see where they end up. Who likes to stick along for long enough to discover what I think I can talk for all of us to discover something more in electronic music.
I mean, I think it's quite natural because this generation, they've literally grown up with parents who are perhaps like my age and like have been raised for a really long time. And so for them, these kids, they're not only is it normal for them to be listening to dance music like at home, but also one of the things I think is interesting now is like the mix of styles. Like techno's more open again. It went through a period where it's kind of dry. And I think that the fact that like breaks and drum and bass and these kinds of things are more accepted again, and these kids are encouraging that. There's also like the horrific pop vocals and everything, but like there is this, it's not always okay, but there is like this opening of styles, and that's bringing more people in, and like just collectives of kids and doing their own parties, and they're making things more interesting. I think I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's good.
So now I have a specific question for you two.
We were targeted.
Yes, we ate at Ron Gastrobar. Yes.
So I would like to know from your perspective as label owner, if you can share with us how the label has evolved its communication, promotion, also management strategies to align with its unique aesthetics, and if you can maybe highlight any recent development or releases that showcase this kind of strategies you have been implementing.
I have something to say, definitely. Because my label was on hold for a year. I was suffering because of what's happening in Ukraine, and I couldn't put myself together. So now I'm back on the track with the label, and I'm actually excited because I've got some ideas which could give an opportunities. Because the problem of the labels nowadays, and it was always like that, is that it's a status quo mostly group. And for young kids, of course, they can release their music in Bandcamp and get some money wherever for their production. But label is also responsible for promotion, which is huge. I think it's the most expensive for my label. It's like the production of the record and for my ambitions of the label is expensive. Like I'm not covering expenses with releasing the music, not in digital, especially not in vinyl. It's highly expensive. I invest a lot, and for kids who are young people, no, I don't say kids. I think it's ageism. It's not respectful. So for young producers, it's an opportunity to release their music without a label, but still they kind of looking for an opportunity to get attention from a bigger groups, for bigger labels, for a bigger like artists to get support. And I've got this idea to actually. I have a project which will give an opportunity not just to release their music, but make it exclusive on Bandcamp for Nechta, but I will pay a fixed fees for one track, and then all the money that this track will make also will go to the artists, so they have an opportunity to be seen, to be heard, to be highlighted, and to make money with the music. It's actually a similar idea that iSlice is doing. That that artists are given respect, paying to the other producers whose music we play. But I just want to make it personal from my label and make it only for the young producers, just to open doors. Yes. And give them the hope that their demo is not lost somewhere in the folder, in the hundreds of tons of promotional emails. Like recently, I saw this T-shirt from Richie Houghton saying "Download it for Richie Houghton." I mean, when you feel it wasn't personal, I don't know if it feels good, but I'm doing it personally. Like I think it's energy-wise very important. I listen to all of the demos myself. I cannot trust it to assistant or anybody. I need to, because it's my label, it's a representation of my taste and my vision, so I need to do it myself. Because if there's somebody else is doing, then I will think like maybe he will miss something that will be interesting. I didn't get it, So for me, it's very personal and very responsible thing. And I had to change the style of the label to make the records more for collections again, because I used to have propaganda records, which was like my favorite project, like the design, this long gatefold sleeve, one-headed cramps, inside out. It was full package. Like you don't get like a record more expensive than this one. And it was not about money, because also on this record was the personalized design where we used the pictures of from the childhood of the artist who was releasing the music, and we were like putting it together into the design. So it was like also I was thinking like for the artist it's so much important to have something personal with this record, not only that their music were like having a physical evidence of existence, but also that there is a picture where I was a kid and I didn't know who I will be, but now I released some music and I have this memory. And now I decided to make it more also for like people, because not so many DJs playing records recently, not even me, all of my records are in Kyiv. I couldn't even transfer them to, I have no space to move them here. So, how to support the record is that some people just buying records because of the cover, because they like to support an artist. And I just decided to make it a little bit like nicer in the design term. And I also collaborated with an architect. He's quite famous on Instagram, and he's working with artificial intelligence, which is also like kind of resonating with the idea of my label, because Nechta is about more like futuristic stuff. Like all the events I've done in Ukraine, they were like, with visuals, crazy like things which are like, offering an experience. And I think you need to improve, like all the time. You need to kind of see what else you can do, how you can support the scene, how you can support new artists, how you can be the label who is opening doors. And because when I was doing this Scary Beautiful project for Nechta, I opened doors a lot of producers, and it was great, because I've seen that most of them, they were growing and going further, It was cool to see, and I still feel like this will be a breach for the label and for the culture, for the scene, because, as Bas said, there is so much music, but labels cannot release all of this, and
Not
I just want
label.
the main mission of my label of Nechta is that my label is for anybody. Unless, if you make good quality music, I like it, I'm ready to take it over and represent it, and, then it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, if you released before something or not. It just doesn't matter. I just want a good music, and that's it. And I think this is more healthy way of doing it if you pretend to do a culture and to be a part of it. This is the culture for me.
Definitely. Thank you.
I'm difficult to work with. I will ignore you. I won't get back to you in time. But the cool thing is the people who bug the shit out of me, who repeatedly message and don't give up, those are the people who I know really care, the ones who really want to be a part of whatever I'm doing. So I have a label, Subject Detroit. I stopped it because I think it's reached its destination for now. There's some new things in the horizon, maybe 10 years from now, 5 years from now. But I didn't want to live on a legacy because I'm always going further, So we started my new label Further. And I'm not even the first release on my own label. It's someone else who has this killer track called We Ain't Like Them. And I thought that the fact it has these vocals in it is We Ain't Like Them, and it epitomizes me, the Further family, the way we operate, the way we think. We're different, I don't deal with release dates. I don't do heavy promotion. When you find it, that's when you find it. I'll release it, and then when you find it, it's for you. It could be 2 years from now, because I'm not pressed, to make sure I sell or push it. And I'm blessed enough to be able to live off of DJing as far as, my career. And I have longevity. I do what I want to do when I want to do it, and it's work for me. I don't have to be in the press. I don't have to do gigs. There's certain things where people would shake their head. Like Spotify approached me years ago for a deal. I turned them down. And people are like, what the fuck, you turned down Spotify? Yes, because it wasn't beneficial. There's certain things that lead to bigger things. So now I have my own channel coming on Apple Music with little sub-channels. There's only 104 electronic music channels on Apple Music. Now there's 105, right? So we have DJ Bone Presents Further, it's coming. And that's one of the things that can happen when you stick to your integrity and your plans. But as far as the label goes, I wanted to keep evolving and keep pushing things and keep doing out of the ordinary shit because that's what's necessary. Techno's experimental. Detroit is experimental. Detroit is timeless. And I don't want to be a legacy or, just looked at as an OG. I show up to the gig and I play. And the young DJs are looking at me like, oh, he's an OG, he's a legend. And I play and they're like, holy shit, he's fast, this guy. The older I get, the faster I get. I don't know how. Yeah. Benjamin Button, I don't know how. But I thought it was time to stop Subject Detroit to start Further. It coincides with the events that we do. It coincides with the mindset I have, of trying to, when everybody's doing one thing, I try and do the opposite. I just go with my gut. And like I was saying, being blessed to make a living off of DJing, all the money since, 2002? All the money from my label goes towards our project, Homeless Homies. So every single penny, merch, vinyl, digital, you name it. Licensing, remixes, all of it. It goes into a separate bank account, and it's for our foundation. And we do homeless charity here in Amsterdam, in LA, San Francisco, in Detroit, Chicago. And it's about giving back to communities that have brought me in and had me come and play. you know, and I have a special bond with a lot of the homeless people in Detroit because I used to play downtown all the time. But I think hounding somebody is never a bad thing, in my opinion. If you want your music released, let them know that you think this is the best track you're gonna hear, you know, this month. You need to listen to it. Don't stop. Don't stop emailing, don't call somebody, don't show up at the house. You know what I mean? Don't pop up, you know, don't walk up on the stage while we're talking. Just keep messaging on a regular basis because we get really busy and it's not intentional that we ignore you, you know? Once we're done with the gig and travel and trying to book new gigs and thinking about making music and enjoying our family, then we might check our emails. You know what I mean? So it's not that we're ignoring you, we just have a limited amount of time and you still need to rest on top of that. She's right, you'll get 100 promos through, you know, in a couple of days. And I do the same. I listen to every single thing myself. Demos, promos, you name it, because I trust my ear and I want to not miss something because this means a lot to me.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys mean a lot. So when you have a hot track or a demo, I want to hear it. I don't want to miss it. As bad as you want it released, I want to find it. So just keep, so it can go to the top of my email. Just keep sending it, you know? I bug people. They're like, yeah, did my boy send it? No, make them send it. Okay. So I get it, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's, you know, in my email, I will get to it. You know, that's how with Yeti, he was really patient because I had the track for a long time. And now his patience is being rewarded because he's the first release on Further. I did a remix of the track. Ben Sims and Mark Broom volunteered to do a remix of the track. Kink is gonna do, so that's what happens when you're patient and you say, okay, you know, I believe in your label, I believe in you, you know, I think that this is where I need to be. You know, you have to commit. If you're too, you know, worried about I have to get released no matter who it is, it's not gonna work for you. It's just not, you know. But as far as promoting goes, we promote, but not on a huge level because it's gotten so intense with promotion. And I think it's important for people to, like I said, time and place. You find the track that you need to find at the right time for you. And it happens, you know, organically, still. You know, even with some of my favorite producers, I miss things. And then I finally find it, and I'm like looking around like, why didn't nobody told me? You know, but at least I found it still. But it's, the exciting part is that it's still growing. There are new vinyl shops opening. There are vinyl shops who need to open a second vinyl shop in the UK. I think it's a great thing, you know, to have the physical legacy, like you said, of a piece of art, basically. Yeah. It's a personal piece of art for whoever released that. And that's important. You can't look at your grandkids and say, this is my folder. Look at all these tracks. This hard drive, oh, yes, it's on the shelf. You know, no, you have a shelf full of vinyl, and you're like, look, your grandfather did this. Your grandmother did this. I think that's huge, you know. That's huge. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. So now I have a question again for you, Eric DJ Bone.
Uh-oh.
Because you mentioned your project, Further Homeless Homies.
Yeah.
Which is not just a platform for music, yet also event series. And so let's say, beside being a celebration for electronic music, it's also a powerful vehicle for social impact, how I see that. So I would like to know, how does an event like this impact the way you guys approach communication, management, and promotion, and what insight can emerging artists or event organizing can take from your experience?
That's a tough one, because we're so unorthodox. Put it this way, you see the front row, that's my family. They go out and they do physical flyering and posters. Like, they promote old school because we just love it and we think we can reach people face to face. and then you can actually tell them about the event and in person, and it might make more of an impact than them, scan the QR and then they go and they read about it. Okay, what else is going on? But you remember that person you spoke with and what they were saying and how they said it. So the street promotion that we have, I think, is key, because it's kind of a representation of who we are. It's part of the vibe. What's what we talk about with Further. It's about from the moment you enter the club until the last track is played. It's from the artist perspective when you get picked up from the airport all the way through until you get dropped off at the airport. It's that feeling. So we have a lot of artists who want to come back, immediately. They want to play. And we've had some huge names, but it's an underground vibe. The main room can hold 700, 750 people, and you got Laurent Garnier in that room because they want that, because it's that feeling, and it reminds them of how they used to feel when they first started playing. And that's what we want to capture, is that whole essence. So the people who remember it, that's golden. And the people who never experienced it are kind of like, why is this different? Why do I feel this way going into this event? And when I left, I can't wait for the next one. So the promotion aspect of it is difficult. Because of what we're doing is not trendy, it's laying a foundation and we're building on it. And it's a slow burn. So we don't expect to just go, bam, no matter who we have come. There's certain things that just take time. And that's what we're looking at is long-term and longevity. And I just structured it after my career, I've been here since, 95? I'm still here, And I'm not looked at as just some relic who's a good representation of Detroit techno, No, I'm taking that shit to the next level constantly. And the event does that, and the team does that. And when you come, you get that vibe, and you're just like, we've had so many people, who come, the artists, they stay, and they're sitting in the backstage talking for 3 hours, and they don't want to leave. The owners of the club have to kick us all out. They're like, yeah, Vault Sessions got to get in here. You guys got to go.
I'll be there early,
next party. We're still there, and you come in, and we're like, oh, sorry, bro. And it's me and Lou Slater and DVS1 and Ben Sims, and nobody wants to leave. And we're just sitting there talking about everything and anything. And it's the camaraderie. We miss that. Even as artists, we still need that, It's good to go play the gig, and then you go back to your hotel, and then you go eat breakfast. But to be able to sit and kick it, that's part of it too. And we want to welcome as many people into what's like our home club, as many people as we can to experience that. And with the promotion, we wanted to introduce it to you in a way so you know what to expect when you come.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
We took like the half of the panel, just two of us.
Thank you. We'll be back.
Extra drink ticket.
So now I have a question for Bas. Since then we can have a different perspective of organizing and promoting an event. So I would like to know, how do you adapt to emerging trends and technologies while creating events that resonate with your the essence of your concept? And maybe also, what are the challenges that you have to face when exporting, let's say, your event outside of your local scene, local community scene?
I can start by maybe saying we were definitely a different Vault Sessions before lockdown. Our last event was a combination of the music that we still promote right now and what we really love and have a lot of passion about, basically why we started this. But also we had quite some acts there that were more on the commercial side, the ticket sellers maybe. And when lockdown started, and while we were in lockdown, I had a talk with one of my partners, whose name is also Bas. And a lot of Bas in the Dutch. And basically we decided that if we survive this, first of all, then we're not ever gonna book anybody or anything that we don't really stand behind musically. So yeah, that made it clear for us that we needed to go back to and fully focus on the club scene first of all, because also some of the warehouses that we used to work with, the bigger venues, also were gone because lockdown happened, and places needed to reinvent themselves. And from that moment on, basically we did more parties on like a higher frequency of parties, which I think a lot of people know. But we kept it smaller, so smaller parties but more, and sticking
more
to this
intimate vibe, let's say.
and then sticking to this specific sound. And I think now we've kind of laid the base of what our sound is, and now we can go out and start experiencing a bit more and teaching basically the kids that are now coming from these harder styles of what people call TikTok, techno, and whatever. I mean, in the end, they always trickle down to the more quality maybe music, and I think the fact that we keep it continuous and that we make sure that we are there a lot. Makes it sure that this maybe more qualitative sound is also well represented in the huge industry that we actually have right now. And you had a second question, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So about like the challenges that maybe you face while bringing your event outside of your local scene.
Yeah. Well, there's quite some challenges, but I think the biggest challenge for us is that not every rider gets taken as serious as we do in the Netherlands. So sometimes it's about some subwoofers in a booth, and sometimes it's just about lightning, and like the dance floor has no vibe or intimacy, and there's very little adjustments that you can do maybe inside of a club or on an outdoor party that make it that much more of a intimate experience. And not everybody is always that willing to listen to our advice or our demands then in some cases. I think that's the most thing that we had on. So purely productional quality,
Okay,
which
so
is
let's say you
different.
have to compromise a bit.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, we try to not do, and we try to push as much as we can, but in the end, there's only so much you can do. But I have to say, we've been now, basically all over Europe, and I have to say that a lot of really nice scenes, and especially if you work together with the right collective that have this shared passion, then you see that back immediately in the terms of their production, but also their artist handling and just the overall communication that you have with somebody. And
that share the same vision.
I think it's very positive all over Europe actually. But you encounter less good collaborations.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Kathy,
Can I have a question to that? From your perspective, what would you say from the level of production that you have towards your own expectations, towards the expectation of the artist? What do you think, how much does it really matter to the audience? And how do you know, how do you get the feedback? And is that something that reflects?
Yeah,
or actually not really?
I think because we've had a lot of we have a certain type of amount of people that follow us to our international events. And for example, one of the things that we see is that what we are very used to is that there's continuously a sound technician always present at the PA mixer, which is not something that you see in every country. And some countries are worse than other countries. But a lot of the times then you see like a promotion, for example, we have the L-Acoustics K2 systems, line array, these type of words that were thrown at you and you think, okay, big sound system. But the only thing that's actually done is just the sound system is being put there, they plug it in and they just turn it on, and that's not how sound works, unfortunately. You need to work with the room, you need to treat the room. This takes at least a day or maybe even 2 days if you want to do it properly, depending on the type of location that you're in. And this is just a little bit of extra time and effort that you need to put in. And we can, like at the moment that you are at an event, you can't really help it anymore. But it's definitely something that for us is yeah, maybe annoying. But I definitely think for DJs, it's definitely something bad. Because if you work, for example, with a limiter, which is a limiter that is cut really low, then a DJ, while there's playing and the bass is in, you don't hear shit. And then when you have a break or a filter comes in, you get this whoop explosion of sound. And this is how tinnitus starts with people and this type of thing. So it's also even a little bit unsafe for performers.
I guess my question was more is like, how do you get direct feedback from your audience and from the people that come to the events?
Yeah, definitely the more regular visitors are not scared to share their opinions. So yeah, we have a lot of feedback on every party, also in Amsterdam. So, and we think that's very important, of course. I mean, in the end, people are paying a ticket and they're expecting a certain type of quality. So yeah, nice. I've definitely had some stuff going on with technicians. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You also actively ask for the feedback after every event, right?
Yeah.
Always email, and I think that's great to do because that's the way you get better in the end.
Yeah.
This is actually communication.
That's communication.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, I mean, in general, I think that the communication sometimes make more work than the talent itself. So it's very important. It's like sometimes people write me like, how do I start? How do I get the slot? How do I get the job? I say like, go out, hang out, meet the promoter, go 1 time, 3 times, 5 times. Your face will be familiar. You start talking to the guys. The team starts recognizing you, and then you become like a part of this. And then maybe they will pay attention on your mix that you're trying to give them for 10th time. Like so. Yeah, patient. Yeah, they say like be patient, and communication is everything because there's tons of artists and DJs, and they just need to kind of feedback all the time and communicate. Boss, you deserve some water.
Do I? I have here.
That's exactly how we ended up with a lot of our further family. Like when we did the sit down further, those two in the front row, Emma and Harry, I'm pointing you out. I nicknamed them perfect attendance because they came to every single sit down further. And then we ended up knowing them, and then we didn't see them for a while, and then we ended up coming across paths with Emma, and Emma was like, yeah, I'm such and such. Don't you remember when you were there? And I was like, holy shit, that's right. So now she's working with us. Harry's working with us. Yeah. It's the same with some DJs. Like you said, if you keep going and you introduce yourself and you make yourself familiar with the promoters, with the promotion team, with the door person, even security, then there's a good chance, of them remembering you when you do approach them for either a job or internship or to DJ, to play a set.
Don't take over the mic again.
Again.
I mean, what everyone's actually describing isn't so much communication as community. Like everyone's building their networks, everyone's like taking part in something, asking for feedback. And like if like you were saying earlier, like you don't want to push things, but you want to build something from the ground and let it go. And the best way of doing that is to have your community, whether that's a community of friends or like an actual professional community.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I will go with the last question because we are running out of time. And if someone from the crowd wants to ask something, this is your moment, now or never. So in age of digital marketing and social media, how can artists and agencies also maintain authenticity in their communication and connect with fans on a personal level?
Can you repeat that?
So in an age of digital marketing and social media, how can artists and agencies maintain authenticity in their communication and connect with the fans on a personal level?
Don't copy.
Like,
don't
be
use,
honest. Yeah.
Write your own email.
Exactly. like have a hand in the things that you're doing. Like, just don't outsource it to an intern. And like the best artists and the best communities and the best agencies, they're authentic. Like they have some kind of like grounding roots or soul that makes them unique in what they do. And if you're just copying other people, or you're just like doing stuff to react the whole time, and you don't actually have like that thing within you that's special, or not even special, but just important, like you have something to say or something that you want to share with people, then you're just gonna like fade into the background or just make mistakes that you wouldn't do if you truly know who you are, whether that's an artist or triangle. Right?
No, I was just about to say the same. It's okay to make mistakes. It's very important to find your own way of communicating, because we are communicating with so many different promoters, artists, like between us, and often we speak a different language, and it's. I find it as something as the most interesting part of our job is to find a common ground to communicate, and to find the right words, and to learn so much about each other, because that happens when you communicate in so many different levels. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay sometimes, if you don't have the right words, but like there has to be an open communication, because that's just what can happen.
Yeah, and if you know where you are in things, then those mistakes are yours. I think the hardest thing for a lot of artists is if they've like outsourced control to a manager or a PR or whatever, and then mistakes are made, and it's like, well, I wouldn't have done it like that. That's not that I'm being misrepresented. That's like a really bad thing in communication.
It's an honest, direct feedback that sometimes maybe gets missed because we're too busy, or maybe because we don't know how to address something, because we're shy, or we don't want to lose something, or create a certain situation. But if we had just used the direct word in the first place, maybe it wouldn't have came that far. And that's maybe something that we can learn, still learning. I think everyone is still learning.
I think yes,
please.
Sorry.
No, please.
I have a wish, and that is related to artists and social media, and that is that not everything is ever a 10 out of 10. Not every gig is a 10 out of 10. In fact, not even a 7 out of 10 sometimes. Speak up. Tell the people what wasn't a 10 out of 10 and why it wasn't. And let's please together end this constant thrive for everything is positive. If nobody ever speaks up, then things are never going to change. And especially when crucial things are happening, right? Then just open your mouth, take it to social media, and engage with the people.
Can I add something?
Of course,
as a person,
we still have time. Don't worry.
As a person who is speaking up about so much, I can tell you it doesn't help your business. Yeah, speaking up the truth about the gig and about how it was and things like that. You need to have a balls, but you need to also know the risks. So it's a good. I mean, I wish that will be true, because we wouldn't have this social media like. I don't know how to say it. It's just so fake. It feels fake, I mean, we're missing the honesty, but the honesty doesn't help the business, and that's the problem.
I was thinking the same shit.
Yeah.
You can call somebody out, but what is that going to do to the artist?
Well, I'm not talking
it's not about calling out. It's about the feedback, about the gig.
When you said if it's a 7 out of 10, you need to let people know on social media. My gig wasn't that great. It wasn't that packed, blah, blah, blah. But that's hurting the artist, and it's hurting the promoter. And what if you like that promoter and they just need help with their gig, or they, had a bad week or something? I address the promoter directly, and I say, look, man, how come it wasn't packed, or how come it, and then we figure out between ourselves, how can we get it to that point? But that's what I usually do.
I think you also meant just the artist himself or herself that just didn't perform as well as they would have liked to do.
Yes.
Because of maybe a USB wasn't working, or the records.
That never happened.
Yeah. I think that there's like a little bit of a trend of everyone like saying that everything is like a transcendental experience, like every club night that they go to, and it's like it's really not. And essentially, a lot of people are just like blowing smoke up each other's asses, and it's not necessary. Like you don't have to in a way of like communicating and presenting yourself, you don't have to like make it so much about that. You know, there's other ways of doing it that are more authentic, and I kind of think that's what you might have been like getting at. You know, not everything has to be dissected, and not everything's wonderful. Like, it really isn't. So I think that's kind of what I was saying also about being a bit authentic, like
I guess
speaking
it's
from the heart.
I think it's a process, because it's something that has been created, a platform for artists to be successful, to seem successful, and that's how you succeed. And it's a process that can't change from one day to another. And you know, like it has something to do with fears. It has something to do with the platform that we all have created together, basically, and has given. So I think it just takes time to reestablish a way of how to communicate, and who is the person to address to if something didn't go well. Does everyone really need to know, or is it boundaries? Something that you tell your agent and then you figure it out?
Of course, filtering is still important.
But I agree that it's cool to actually express your feelings, and honestly, like, it wasn't you, it wasn't the club, it wasn't promoter, but I didn't connect, I didn't feel good, I didn't flow and stuff like that. This helped the social media and people to really know better who you are, actually, like what is affecting your feelings and the mood and the result of the gig and stuff like that. This is like kind of natural, but it will be good if we had this like real story, more real stories in showcasing, you know, in the public.
Well, thank you. Everybody. So, anybody from the crowd has some question? Giuseppe?
Oh.
Here, Mike. He's our man.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Simone, and I would like to go back to the previous topic about the way you choose your collaborators. So we already discussed about consistency, but what other features are you looking for except of this? Like, what else are you looking into a new collaborator in order to make your choice? Thank you.
You mean for like music, for demo?
I mean for like communication and promotion, in that way.
Like as a communication agency, like the way that I choose like the people to work with?
Yes, exactly. And also like if for example, a new intern comes to you and asks for an opportunity, what do you evaluate?
Well, like, there's two totally different questions. Like, people to work with, just generally, like, their commitment and how we get on with them, because we're a tiny agency. So it's like, how do you build a team, like, just of people that you get on with? From, like, a music and an artist or label perspective of, like, people that I work with, do I like the music? That's, like, the main criteria. And then, like, how do I feel about everything around it, like the way that they present themselves, like if they're interesting, like do they have a story to tell, and this kind of thing.
I think it's also about sharing values. Like if the person you want to collaborate, or it's a company or something, if it reflects with you and like it resonates with you, then you feel good to go together, you know. So it's just a feeling. I think it's based on feelings. I mean, for me, like I'm speaking for myself.
Hired people based on the football team that they supported before. So,
did it work out?
It did work out. So, we were both Villa supporters, and So, now he's a massive
Great
star.
collaboration.
So, I think we are done for now. Then there is the next panel. There is another question. Okay, sorry, I didn't see it.
Yeah, hello. Nice being here. I'm Peter Fransen. I used to be a DJ in the Amsterdam club scene for about 30 years. I wonder how many guys and girls who are DJing here have ear problems. Maybe no one.
I can speak for at least the people that I work with, some of the people that are also present here, and a lot have ear problems. Yeah, wear ear protection, get the customized ones, because your experience on the dance floor will eventually get even better, because you hear less noise, you hear less, you can actually have a proper conversation on the dance floor while you're next to a subwoofer by, yeah, and yeah, I mean, nobody wants to wake up or go to sleep with a constant ringing in their ear. And it's very present. I think a lot of people from, like, what was it, 25% of people under 25 in the Netherlands have tinnitus, something like that.
Yeah,
It's a really big, big amount, and this has been already like that for quite some time. And well, we see it in artists as well now, and it's something that you can work on and you get used to it. But it's mental torture, I would say. So,
yeah, it's
protect your ears.
Yeah, it's a matter of luck if you risk it, but protection is always the care. The self-care is the important. I don't use it.
Do you have tinnitus? Do you have ear problems, sir? The one that asked the question.
Yeah, I'm 75 at the moment, so I have an older sort of ear problem, but. When I used to be a DJ, I had a strange advantage. I was deaf.
Huh. Okay.
I was not deaf at all, but
so
you can have
had
things in your ears that can protect you from 120 dB at Dance Valley in 1995, you know, like those things. So one of my last questions was, do you think there is a limit to the dB score? I mean, the BPM score, you know, it can go as well as...
yeah, I think that we already found out that there's no limit to the BPMs.
I agree.
But...
Maybe this is the cause. All the 25%.
Maybe this is the problem. No. I actually really like the standard 105 dBs, and you should talk about then dBAs and dBCs. dBA is the average measure. dBC is the highest measure, and that also takes the low end. And that can always be a little bit higher, but the trick is to just not be directly into a speaker, which a lot of kids actually do. So yeah, there's just a couple of things that you should not do while you're maybe enthusiastic at that moment when you're at a party.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I think we all do.
We got kind of the feeling.
Try to keep this political correct.
I love it. Nice one, bro. Nice one.
But yeah, protect your ears. Definitely.
I mean, promoters also have to take responsibility for it. Like, a good club, of the risk of you getting ear damage is very low. But at some festivals and some clubs, like, especially things that people are doing themselves, it's so dangerous. Like, one of my artists last year, the speaker, like, blew right in her ear. And she had to finish the year, like, wearing, like, the ones, when you're doing the drilling on the road, like, she had to DJ in these, because they're like, if you don't do that, you're going to lose your hearing. And that was literally just somebody not taking care of their system. Like, it's a responsibility. Like,
that's where the limiter comes in handy.
Who was it? So we can talk about it on Facebook.
You know?
Yeah, have a good sound engineer.
Since I have the mic, I'm not going to rap, but what do you think about the limit of visualization, stroboscoping things, people getting epileptic, like myself, by these things I used to go often to. Almost every day to a Roxy house club. Well, it wasn't really
we know it, yeah.
Only a house club, the Roxy. Yeah. And lately it was in the Paradiso, and then I noticed those lights can kill you, and that's it.
I hate strobes.
Thank you.
He's my favorite.
Oh, with passion.
I
hate
love it.
strobes. I hate smoke. And like, if you have lasers,
I
like,
don't,
they
I'm
should
sorry.
not be at
I love
eye
them.
level.
Same.
Just make it dark.
I think just awareness in that case would be nice. Veggie, who is about to go up on stage, I think later. He's one of the guy from Orvik. Where's the logo? It was somewhere here. And he just had an event where he was actually focusing a little bit more on, how accessible are your events if you have these very overwhelming type of lights. And you can strobe with lights. It doesn't have to be white light. For example, if you use a red light, which is one of the most easiest digestible for your brain, if I say that correctly. And I think it's also a responsibility of a promoter and then again a light technician to study this and to know like what works, what is easier for the brain, and what doesn't trigger and what does trigger. But in the end, if you are epileptic, then you are taking a chance by going to a party, which is I mean, you have ears. You take a chance by getting deaf if you stand inside of the speaker all the time. I mean, these things are also a bit, I think, a responsibility of the visitor. But we need to know what is possible and what can happen. That is 100% sure, yeah.
And it's great, I think, if you have a community that comes to your events and follows your events. As a promoter, you have a good way or a good chance of communicating with them and creating awareness for them, how to protect them, especially when they're very young, which I think is an important
100%.
part.
Yeah, I think we just need to give a lot of information.
Right.
If we know it, then it's in the end it gives safer clubbing and we can prolong also our time spending on the dance floor, which we love so much.
This is education, I think. It's
education.
This is the most important part, I think.
Yeah.
I think we have the very last question now, and then we're going to leave the space to the next panel.
Thank you, and thanks everyone for contributing to today. As always, I think there are two sides to one coin, and I totally agreed on the tremendous releases we are all seeing today, which is nice for the scene and for the art per se. Now, looking at the producer's perspective, and I'm talking more about the communication aspect of it, how do you manage to step out of that noise? How do you manage to being picked up? If there is any trick, and not trick, but if you have any real tips, because there's a lot of bullshit around. Being authentic is nice, but you can be authentic as you want. If no one sees you, you can be authentic in your bedroom. Yeah. So, what's the catch?
There is no one single answer to that. Like, sometimes we joke that we're just screaming into the abyss, which is not really that funny. But I think part of it is, like, some artists think that they can give their music to a label or they can join an agency or whatever, and it's just going to happen. Like, that those people are just going to use their contacts like wizards, and we're just going to, like, magic you a career. And it's not the case. Like, artists have to know who they are, have something to say, like, have great music, but also you have to build your own community. Like, I really believe this. Like, you have to have people around you, whether that's online, wherever you come from, you don't have to have people right next to you. Maybe you're blessed with amazing friends who you go out to events with and you build a community like that. But lots of people don't have that, and they're reaching people online, like sharing music, liking things, being nice and making those contacts. That's literally how communication works, and like the idea of press. It's just building contacts and giving people, making connections. That's all it is. And people have to do that for themselves as well. And I know it's not easy because some people, it's hard for them to, it's essentially like going to the schoolyard and making friends. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody's the talker in the room. And that's where these other people can help you. But you have to also like take some of that responsibility yourself. But how you do that, it's like $1 million question, really. Like, there's so many different ways. I work with artists who are 19 years old through to artists who are 65 years old. And everybody is in different stages of their career, but everybody is still like trying to get noticed. It doesn't matter like who you are, you're still trying to get noticed, to people to hear and connect with what you're doing. And there is no set way of doing that. Everyone has to find their own rhythm. I think a team is good, like making connections. It sounds easy, but it's not. I'm sorry.
It's true.
10 out of 10 answer, though.
That's a great answer. You're 100% on. I'm lucky because
I've been doing it for a long time.
the way I did mine, it was a really slow burn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So all I can say to you is be authentic as possible. I know you said it's not enough, but you have to have great music. You have to be authentic. And then try and identify with people who you think would love your sound.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to go, is fish in a really small pond. And then if that doesn't work, go to another pond. You know what I mean? Like if you say, I think that this needs to be on further. So is it techno? Is it Detroit-y? Is it, you know? If you feel like that, then you approach and say, okay, I'm gonna email. Or, you know, 3 or 4 or 10 or whoever. Or like she said, if you build up your own community, you do this hard work and not just get a bunch of followers on social media and, you know, bots or whatever. If you approach it that way, that's how a bunch of people come on my radar. Yeah. Jack Frazier, you know, Yeti Mind Tricks, Taylor DJ, all these people have come on my radar because of either I noticed them or my wife noticed them or someone from our team or family noticed them and said, you need to, they give me the elbow. Hey, this one kid, oh, this young lady over here, blah, blah, blah. Even DJs, when we book for Homeless Homies, we try and bring in, I peep them and I say, this person has something, you know, and then we just bring them in. And then, okay, you know, you're here now, what you got? And sometimes you might try for years and it feels like forever and it doesn't work. There's some people we just kind of pluck and bring into the realm and they're like, whoa, like now you want me to do it? Yeah. And that's how it happens sometimes because I'm always, that's part of my job as far as being an elder, I hate saying that word, but in the scene, I have to nurture youth and talent. Yeah. I have to. It'll die if I don't. If we don't, it's gonna go away. Then everything's gonna be a massive festival that costs 600 euros and you camp out and, you know, on Mars and, you know, if you don't nurture the essence and the framework of it, it's gonna disappear. So just keep trying your best, be authentic, make great tracks. Like you said, you have to. Build a community, build up, it could be local, it could be in a pub, you know what I mean? Throw a party in your mama's house, anything, just to get that word of people going, damn,
it's
did you check out?
It's everyone's advantage.
Yeah.
Like, it's not anyone's advantage to shut down people or to keep young people out. Like, the scene thrives and grows by new people coming in and new sounds and new ideas. So, like, you will find those people to support you, and through that, we don't, like, sit in little bubbles, but we actually, like, reach out to each other. And that's, it just makes things more interesting, and so you'll always find those people. Sometimes it just takes a while.
Yeah.
But now you know us, so.
Exactly.
Well, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
We're gonna now leave the space to the next panel for real.
Thank you, Laura. Well done.
You.
So do you and Laura speak?
daughter, having a loan, everything. So I told my wife, okay, I'm going to try it for 9 months. And if 9 months later I don't see any viable potential, I'm going to quit. 9 months later, everything was closed. So I was lucky enough, starting working, like, stop worrying, take the time you need, and we'll see. So this is why basically at that time I shifted and I started a federation for nightlife in Brussels.
So we can see all the faces.
There's one. To raise money from the state. Okay. Money because the clubs have no choice.
Absolutely. Same thing here, yeah.
Some have like
okay. I think it would be the right time if everyone just sit down and shut up a little bit. Amazing. All right, welcome to our panel discussion on the narratives of cooperation, on identity and expressivity in club culture. Club culture has long been a space for marginalized communities to come together and freely express themselves, from the early ages of disco and house music to the diverse landscape of electronic music today. Clubs have provided a platform for people to celebrate their identities. Today, we will explore how club culture has fostered the sense of community and collaboration, and how this has impacted the identities and expressivity of its participants. We will also discuss the challenges and opportunities brought by the digital age, and how technology has influenced cooperation and self-expression within this environment. Throughout history, club culture has always been a space for cooperation and collaboration. For instance, artists will collaborate on tracks, and mixers or dancers will work together to create a shared experience. It has always been about coming together and working towards a common goal. And during this panel, we would like to gain a better understanding of what this common goal represents. So that's the introduction of the topic of today. I think it's good if we all start with a little introduction round. I didn't do it so well as Laura in the previous one. I'm gonna turn it around. I'm gonna let you all shine and introduce yourself. But I will start with me. I'm Nick. I've been in the music industry since I was about 10, 11 years old. That's when I started DJing for a party called Thunderdome. I did that for about 9 years, and then I took a little break from DJing. After that, I started working in the music industry. First for ADE, which is the company behind Thunderdome, and is now also the company behind Awakenings, Q-Dance, and a lot of the biggest dance promoters in the Netherlands. After that, I started working for a club here in Amsterdam, which is called Warehouse Elementenstraat. And this is actually where my love for techno got born, and where I also picked up DJing again. Then later on, after the pandemic, everything was closed, of course, so my work stopped. Then after the pandemic, when Amsterdam opened up again, I got involved in Lo-Fi, a club in Amsterdam, and together with my partner Jort, I'm promoting a party called Red or Lost, which is actually going to be the unofficial ADE closing this Sunday. So for everyone who's I know, I'd love to see you there. But enough about me, because this panel is all but about me. So I'd like to give the word to Fergie and start with this introduction round.
Yes, thank you. My name is Fergie Imanbaks. I'm a co-founder and promoter at Orphic Amsterdam. It's a community-based event, underground. If we don't label ourselves, but if people would label us, I think they would call us a queer community-based event.
Hi, I'm Manuela de Jong Budimilic. I am import Dutch. I'm Croatian, Croatian born. I live here already for almost 25 years. I run a booking agency for DJs and live acts, and I also do management. And the agency is called ADE. We celebrate 20 years this year.
Hi, my name is Michaela. I am from the community of Hall Club, based in Tallinn, Estonia. I am a DJ, curator, and just part of the management team of one of the biggest alternative clubs in the Baltics. And yeah, I guess we'll get into that a bit more later.
Hello everyone, I am Brice Delose. I've been wearing quite some hats in the electronic music scene, maybe actually too many. Most of them lately have been working as sound engineer and artistic director at Fuse Club in Brussels. And I started my own label called Initiate Records quite some years ago. I'm making music as pattern. And 9 years ago, I started a non-profit in Brussels trying to actually bring together electronic music producers to give them some support, being bookings, being workshops, being content, whatever. And this led us to create an electronic music festival of 3 days, gathering more than 20,000 people in Brussels, basically.
Buenas noches a todos. I am Jose from Medellín, Colombia, founder, curator, and graphic designer for the first electronic music community of South America in 2001, and also Freedom Electronic Music Festival since 2008.
Just a sec. You're Jose. Hi, I'm Steve Rachmat, DJ, producer, not label owner, that's a mistake. I was waiting for that one. Been DJing since early 80s for myself. And still going strong. Yeah, what else?
Well, thank you all. I think you couldn't have done a better introduction than I would have. One of the first subjects I would like to speak about is collaboration. It's the first topic which is in the title of this panel. So when we talk about collaboration, I'm really curious how you guys think that we can ensure that the benefits of these corporations are divided evenly between all stakeholders. And then I'm talking about artists, promoters, venues, also maybe like lesser known people like light technicians, awareness team, graphic designers. And sorry, Fred, that I have to start with you again. I know you told me you don't like to be in the spotlight, but I think you have a very interesting input about this and how you do this with your party, Orphic.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I can tell how we do it. When we started Orphic, we wanted to focus on the local scene. And instead of just only focusing on booking artists and giving them, for example, like a high fee, we give all artists the same fee. And what we do with the rest of the money, so we don't take the rest of the profit, put the rest of the profit in our own pocket, but we try to uplift like the whole scene instead of just only book the artists. And that is something we do, for example.
Nice. Yeah, maybe good to mention that your company is also like a non-profit, right?
Yeah.
And that's also something, when I heard about this for the first time, I was pretty amazed by that, because it's not something that's very common in this, what is now an industry, where nowadays it's also a lot about the money. So there was like...
Yeah, so I think also a lot of people start from passion, but I don't think it's bad to earn money, because it's not what we do. Of course, we also earn money, but it's not bad to make a living out of it, because it also needs to be an industry. But yeah, we decided to do it a little bit different.
And I mean,
this is in a way how I can keep it my passion instead of like my regular job.
Oh. Anyone else who would like to shine a light on this subject? It's like I was.
Well, of course, you can't keep always everyone happy, but you can try. You can. Let's put it like this: if I always thought that if you do things for the money, it's the wrong way. You should do things out of passion and out of love, and then the money will follow. So I try to make these decisions also in my work. Of course, I cannot always do my thing fully because I have artists to keep happy as well and promoters on the other hand. But we try to make a balance out of big events that maybe bring more money, but also more boutique style clubs. And some artists are more open to it than others, but yeah, we try to spread the talent worldwide as far as possible. Yeah.
Other people?
Yeah, I can talk about, but I'm not there from the business side. The business side for me is also Manuela. She's the manager and booker. But for me, cooperation can be something with an artist you do together. I mean, last year we had a back-to-back with DJ Bone, and that's also a cooperation for us to do it together for the first time. And for me, this year, the collaborations with BDJ and Lady Starlight and Colin Benders, live is for me is a new thing, and that's something I've never done before, and that's a real collaboration because we do it together on the stage, and it's not programmed, pre-programmed, it's just on the fly. So that's my part of seeing collaborations, let's say.
Yeah, you're quite on a roll when it comes to collaborating with live performances nowadays.
Nowadays, yes.
It's like, how do you, maybe it's interesting to shine a light on that, is how do you pick the people you collaborate with, especially when it comes to like performing live, and I know you do also some live improv sets, which is, you need to have some trust in the people that you work with. And
yeah, for me, I look at it from the side, what can I add to what I hear? And let's say certain artist I like, what can I add to what he is doing? So I'm looking at it from that side. What can I do to bring a joint venture into it? And I just trust myself that I can always find my way in there. And yeah, that's how I approach it.
And the personal click is, I guess, also.
I think that's yeah. Personal click is also very important. Of course, you have to feel each other's music. Could have fun if possible as well.
Not to separate. Another important thing is not to separate the artist from the person, because normally people think. It's very people used to do it like the art form is accepted even if the person is like, you know, so the soul is very important.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
If I might join in, I think there's also quite some difference between collaborating with brothers, with artists, with soulmates, and building a team to create something, because they're also collaborators, but it's not on the same levels and the expectations are not the same. What I mean with this is somehow to achieve a party, an event, a label, you can't do everything on your own for sure, especially now, because there are too many things to be done to get there. While getting on an artistic journey and doing artistic collaborations is not the same at all, because yeah, sure, you need to share values, you need to have a common ground, yet at some point collaboration can become competition. And I'm talking about things I saw. The point is not to put names on there, but your friend or your collaborator can become your enemy somehow, you know, or someone who stabs you in the back, which is not the same when you build a team to get somewhere. If you have a graphic designer, a PR agency, they're working with you, but it's not the same level of collaboration. So I think things need to be separated on that level. Talking about artists, what I saw when we started the non-profit, we wanted to help artists. And instead of just starting to do, I don't know, tutorials, videos, whatever, we did a round of interviews, about 30 artists in Brussels doing electronic music. Surprisingly, everyone was complaining about one thing, feeling lonely. Because in electronic music, you are alone behind our computer, behind the turntables, whatever. And so building a community of like-minded people who could share insights was something that looked way more profitable than anything else. And so this is why we started with just what we call tribe rings. people having beers, because we're Belgians, so having beers and sharing ideas, and ultimately getting to build a community of like-minded people, which somehow for me is not the same as when you want to start a festival or an event, when you need to build a team somehow.
Mm-hmm. I think you said something interesting here about competition. I think this could go different if ego wouldn't interfere to that extent. I always try to get guided by the principles of electronic music, of rave culture. It's peace, love, unity, and respect that many of us forgot about. There is enough space for everyone. There is no need to feel endangered. Sure. So, ideally we would collaborate and work more together, because it's the basis of how it all started, and we kind of lost it along the years.
Yeah, and to collaborate with someone, indeed, you're trying to find exactly the person how you describe, and of course, I do it based on feeling, and of course, you can be wrong that it's not turning out how it's supposed to be. But you learn from this. It's a learning experience, and then you move on and go to the next, and then try to see if it works.
Yeah, I also totally agree with Manuela. I think at Orvik we really believe in like winning together instead of competing. Mm-hmm. It's like if you support the scene as a whole, there will always be place for like new initiatives and stuff like that. Instead of like if you only have like one successful concept in your city. And yeah, and I also really believe that if a promoter is not willing to cooperate, then maybe they are afraid that their concept is not strong enough to survive. Yeah.
I think this is a really interesting topic that you guys just started. Like competition is something I wanted to ask something about, because I sometimes see this happening in Amsterdam, definitely also in Berlin where I live now. It's like, not that Berlin has a limited audience, I think Amsterdam maybe a little bit more, but in cities with these limited audiences, you have like club events, but also festivals. They are all catering to the same demographics. What I wanted to explore is how can organizers foster cooperation instead of competition when we are promoting like multiple parties every weekend sometimes. It's like, do we know any good examples, or some, especially the promoters here in the panel?
So I'm representing Tallinn, which is a very small city. And we've always had this question in mind, like, how do we collaborate if we don't have a lot of people? And we have a few clubs, but we need to kind of like conceptualize which club promotes what kind of music. And I feel that, you know, competition between the artists is not as common as competition between the promoters, because they begin like choosing their place based on like, where do I get the better deal? You know, I get the bigger club and I'm bringing the bigger artist, but then I'm competing with the smaller club, bringing, maybe having the same sound, but having a smaller artist, but having a cheaper ticket. So in smaller countries, I guess it's a topic that we want to begin not only in Tallinn, not only in Estonia, but between the Baltic countries. We just had a conversation here also with the representative of 11 Riga, this club, one of the biggest clubs there, techno clubs there. And we just started talking, you know, like maybe now is the time to start thinking, how do we bring more people based on the event to our country, and then maybe next week we go to your country, bring the same people there, or maybe we start, you know, sharing costs between each other by bringing a bigger artist and letting them tour from one place to another. Yeah. So, I mean, in Estonia, yeah, this is a complicated situation at the moment.
To support this, I recently worked with you guys, and I booked an artist for beginning of November, and then your programming team contacted me that there is another big event on the same date, and they were worried about the day. But you guys went into a talk together, and found a solution, and we rescheduled, and they even refunded the flights, the other promoter. So, I mean, amazing.
The conversation is, we are starting with this conversation, yeah.
Others can learn from this.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're kind of in the beginning phase of this. I think we've been talking about it for quite long, but now we're actually taking action because, you know, in the Baltics is a bit complicated also with post-war, inflation. People are not really like, they're trying to, you know, everybody wants to go out, everybody wants to have fun, but when you start choosing where you want to put your money into, then you need to start thinking in the way of like, okay, logically, so we have one big event happening this weekend, we should only do it in that club, and talk to each other a bit more, have a mutual calendar, for example. This is all happening at the moment.
This is something we actually did in Brussels at some point, having a shared calendar with like-minded venues that were willing to share in advance, and as soon as one artist was locked, we knew that that was going to be the aesthetics of that night in that club to avoid date clashes. Problem is, this only works as long as people are willing to contribute, and as long as people share the same idea of working together. Again, I think the problem is more maybe something related to education and how you are raised by your parents and the person you want to be. One good example of this, I think, is what happened just after COVID. I mean, how many promoters did we hear during the lockdown saying, we need to support local artists. We are going to program only local artists when we're going to be open again to support them because they've been struggling. And what happened, as soon as the doors were open, some sharks came back to book big names, and they booked big names before the others to get more the traction of the audience. So, I mean, this is for me the risk. Do you want to become someone else because there are some sharks around? People who might stab you in the back, or do you want to stay true to your own roots and to your values, risking at some point being stabbed? And I think this is a personal choice that everyone has to make at some point, and to look yourself in the mirror. Who do you want to be? Collaboration can bring you way further than working alone, but there are risks along the way, and choosing the team is like the most tricky part of it. To go further on this idea of collaboration, we even had like Fuse, C12 and Zodiac working together, sharing stuff. I'm missing a turntable tonight, you know, shit. Can I borrow one of yours? Yeah, sure, you know, and at some point having even venues that are competitors working together is something beautiful, but it only works the time that everyone is willing to play the game.
Absolutely.
I think that's beautiful. It also comes back to what Manuela just said. It's about your ethics, it's about your values. You mentioned the peace, love, unity, respect. I think it comes very close to what you just said. And I think if you're in a scene where you're really working from passion, then yeah, you can foster these kind of collaborations. Soon when you have like big companies who are just in the game for the money and lost a bit of track about the passion, that's when the sharks start to appear and when nasty tricks starts being played. So I think it's responsibility for us as a community to preserve these values and also pass them on to the next generations, which is actually a nice bridge for my next question. Especially now in a day and age where we have technology, and the previous panel, TikTok was being mentioned already. It's a place where you can learn how to dress to get into Berghain, or how to dance to techno music. And it's, I think, a very superficial way of using technology to share. You know, they're not even values, because you don't even have to get into that. So my question is, like, how can we utilize these new technologies to document and share the stories, values, and traditions that have shaped our identity as a community over time? And the reason why I came up with this, maybe to give a bit more context, is like what I saw happening after the pandemic, especially here in Amsterdam, was that a lot of the older generation stopped going to clubs. There was a really big new generation that had never been in clubs. And because there was a lack of these elders and a big influence of these youngsters, the vibe in the clubs completely changed, in my opinion. And it was just because these, of course, everyone needs time to like really get to know how to behave in a certain community. So it takes a bit of time before they will get there, but I think, yeah, how can we use technology, online or offline, in person or online, it's like to pass on these generations and make sure that everyone is a bit on the same wavelength.
Yeah, that's a big topic. Yeah, what happened is also that the musical trends have changed this way somehow through TikTok and similar. Yeah, difficult. We are mostly resistant of this new technology, but I think we are kind of being forced to do something about it because we are losing connection with the young generation.
Yes, because I really also think that we can use it in our advantage, because I think TikTok is even now more used under the younger generation than Google. That's something I find really interesting, because I always Google everything, but I think younger generation, if they find like a recipe or something like that, they just look on TikTok and they find everything. So I think we as promoters should find a way that we still keep true to our values, but then we can use these kind of social media. Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, it's like we've been complaining now for quite some time. So
it's not gonna go away.
It's not gonna change. So it's like you gotta just get on that level and kind of like approach it in a very like in that level. You need to go on that level and realize, okay, what is actually, if we know that the attention span has reached now to 3 seconds. What do we do? I mean, like, you know, we should also go maybe on TikTok, but maybe have a different approach. If visual stuff is actually attracting a bit more, then we need to realize that, you know, even though we would love to write long texts about some events and explain why it's so important for you to come and be part of this experience, maybe we could do it in a 3-second video, kind of like, you know, attract, and then a younger person just thinks, okay, this is something different. And I've been trying, I mean, because I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to find ways how to explain. And I think in the end is like maybe you even attract in a way that you need to have curiosity grow in the younger generation, maybe sell a concept that they are not really sure about, and then when they do come to the party, you give them another sound they have not heard about before. So...
But they don't like concepts, they like superficial stuff, so it's... But I understand your point, of course, you need to hack the system inside the system, but it's not easy because they like just stupid and you
can't say that. No.
Empty stuff.
Are changing.
It's empty stuff.
It's fake. It's fake. We were talking about building communities, working together. How can you build anything out of fake? I mean, if we want to build a community and work with people, there needs to be value shared, and you can't share values on a silly TikTok dance. Sorry, I'm maybe not honest enough or judgmental, but I think there's so much fake being shared daily. They spoke about it in the last panel, about everything is perfect, everything is beautiful, everything was my best gig ever, I'm overjoyed about everything, you know. Stop that, be just honest. And maybe I'm old, I don't feel, but I'm not touching the new generation. But I think there's also a role of education through bigger venues, through bigger artists who have already been established enough to somehow not follow trends, but build trends, to educate. Maybe people want direct satisfaction, but is this what techno music is about? Or is it diving into something, you know? Do we want just to please masses, or do we want to build something bigger together, you know? And I understand totally that as a promoter you want people to your venue, or you go bankrupt. You need money, you need people. And finding the balance is really difficult, but as far as I'm concerned, I can't see any place of TikTok into something true, value-based, community-based for what I am doing.
Well, you've given up.
Yeah, sure. But I'm happy to have given up, you know, it's a choice.
I think if there's going to be a change, it's going to have to come from within. And if we're all gonna lift our hands and leave it to the chance.
This is not what I said. I didn't say leave it to the chance. I just said there is a channel where I'm not going to fight my fight, and I'm happy to fight it somewhere else where I feel it matters more.
And how do you want to reach them?
Through talking with friends, to having people who are part of.
You're not reaching far enough.
No. I mean, you can always, this is community building, and if you are not happy as, for example, a promoter or a club owner about a platform that is just, you're too old school for that, then you bring a new person in the community, which is maybe a younger person, and you tell them, look, do what you have to do. Here is the concept, and now sell it on TikTok. Because in the end, the person that is going to come to the event is not going to have, if we are selling, something authentic, that's what they're going to reach to. They're going to come to the event that is authentic, and then they're going to realize, okay, this was promoted it from another side, and now I'm getting educated at the spots. But I was, not manipulated to come here, but it was just a different approach. Because creativity is everything. And times are always changing.
Sure, I'm just talking about the 3 seconds time attention people have nowadays, and everyone tries to follow what somehow influencers are telling, while actually somehow losing their own values, their own roots. And I think if at some point you don't feel right by doing something, it's not because some guru told you so that you should do it. And if you feel your audience is not somewhere, just go somewhere else. Go to the record shop. Go send emails if you feel like sending emails. Go invite friends every weekend to talk about what you're doing for them to spread the word. There are many other ways to do things. Of course there are trends. Of course there are TikTok hypes. Of course you have crazy DJ dancers playing around the world every weekend, but if they're happy to do so, I have no complaint about them. I'm not criticizing anything. I'm just saying, as far as I'm concerned, this is not the path I want to take, and I believe there are other people who are not feeling comfortable with this path, and so they have maybe other ways to reach to them. That's the whole thing.
I think the most difficult part as a promoter is that you need to compete with people that is playing both sides, the mainstream and the TikTok side, business techno, EDM techno. And also, they don't stop doing underground just because they need to do it, to be connected to the source. If they are not there, they will lose some kind of power, but they still do it, but they play both sides. So they have unlimited money to compete to you and to us that we have ethic to not play that side. So we are more limited, more resistance. It's more fun at the end. You can play the game of the game of the game and fight the fight. And it's more rewarding because then you are never bored. But it's still like sometimes in your life you want to have a rest, sometimes, but you can't because it's the decision you made.
But what makes your event a great event somehow? That's maybe the main question. Yeah. Do you need 2,000, 4,000, 10,000 people? Do you want 1,000 stories about that event, or do you want just 20 or 50 people dancing with their eyes closed? What is your marker of success? And this is something really personal. I mean, and everything is fine. There's no right or wrong, but I think it's for everyone to find what he expects and then to choose which battle to lead to get there.
Yeah, I heard you talking about reaching the masses, and it's also something I wanted to ask something about, because as our community predominantly gathers in smaller, intimate clubs, what lessons can larger festivals and events, for instance, learn from these environments to amplify our shared values and foster cooperation, identity, and expressiveness to a broader audience? I think, Jose, you're the best person to answer this question.
Yeah, it's like a resume of what everyone is talking, and it's content. It's very important, but the thing is, as we were speaking about, people don't like content. It's like the new generations and the algorithms are based on bodies. It's super bizarre that the sexuality for the young girls and the women. Imagine it's too much, and then you need to fight with that, and we are in kind of apocalyptic times also. So the easy way to go through all this, people want to go fast and to take the easy way because there is no time, because everything is going down and down and down. But one important concept that I want to talk about techno is oral tradition. It came like from ancient times, and it's what it keeps the spirit alive. And if we, as family, lose that, then I think we lose very important thing about techno. And everyone say, no, it's fine, and they keep normalizing bad things, bad moves, bad decisions. It's okay, the industry is the trend, but it's a vicious circle, it's a bad spiral going nowhere. So of course, there are some people that keeps inspiring, but yeah, it's too much sometimes. But everything is about content and all the channels available to bombard all the information you can.
And for instance, how do you do that with the content that you create for your events?
No, because the Medellin Style is a website. It's like it's since 2001. It's like a blog, very old. And while all the promoters keep doing, like, you know, promotion, we also keep doing content. And it's not content just about techno and DJ scene. It's also about news, you know, like important stuff, like general culture that fits your mind in a way that others only fits with party, maybe. And I think also in Colombia it never happened, but it's very important to do the step of listening to music. We haven't there still. We don't have installations. We don't have you know, experimental music yet. So it's an important step. So you respect more the music when you just listen and you are not just taking a full weekend of dance floor music. So I think also that could be an important step to do there.
So, did I understand correctly, you're only based on a website?
No. The first channel was the website, even when there were no social nets. I remember sending emails to DJs when I was like 17, things like this. So it was very pure, you know. And I tried to keep doing that, as I told to Steve, like, before it was very easy to me to see what DJ was going to be big, like in some years. But then you invest like maybe 8 years to build their audience. And then a predator came and offered 2-3 times more, and you lose all your time, because then is when you get your money back after 8 years of making them big. It's not hype DJs. They don't, many people sometimes in the smallest scenes, they don't know who Staraki is or DJ Bone. But it's our mission to respect on that, you know, to protect the legacy as we are talking about it. It's very important. And, you know, we have all these Insta DJs fighting for that attention. They are over, it's over. They are not, you know, it's our time. It's pure, I don't know what is that, but it's, as you say, that it's better to the long term. We say in Colombia, it's much better the small drop in the tap water than the waterfall, the small tap.
Beautiful. I think one of the last subjects that I can touch before we have to go to the question round is, like, we've been talking a lot about our values, about our culture, and yeah, that's a lot, like, people from the inside at some point we know about this. Like, this is getting very common. You see it a lot as well sometimes, like a lot of these events in Amsterdam, they have their house rules, their codes of conduct, like a lot more parties I see it doing more and more and more. Talking about these ethics and values and ways they want you to behave at their events, and I think that's freaking beautiful, because it's really teaching people in the literal sense how to behave at an event, but I think you teach them a broader lesson about how to behave as a person. And that made me think, like, how can club culture address like issues of diversity, representation, and what steps can we take to extend its effort beyond our scene and create a more inclusive and diverse society as a whole, like outside of our club? So how can we take it from the clubs, from like stop preaching to the choir, because at some point we kind of already know, but how can we take more action, take all these values, those beautiful things that we learn in clubs, how can we take them outside of the clubs and really make an impact on the real world?
I think I can I think that already happens. I think a lot of those social issues got addressed at night, and they started at night, and then people came in contact with those issues, and they brought it to the daylight. So I think that's already happens, and how to make it better, yeah, or more, yeah. I think that's a difficult question.
I think we live in a bubble in our scene. We don't always realize it feels like a whole world, but it's just a fraction of the entire society. Yeah. Media, more of this. Social media.
Maybe where do these values start? Yeah, at home. So it depends on your growing up, your parents, how they raised you, and take it from there. It's hard that we have to do it. Of course, it can help that we do it.
I mean, you can try to make a difference always, but you see already how different it is, Amsterdam against somewhere else in the country. It's like day and night. Like everyone thinks Netherlands are super liberal. Yeah, in Amsterdam. The rest is pretty conservative. Yeah.
That's
more
endless
publicity.
Question. It's really hard.
I think publicity will not change anything.
No.
It's
publicity,
more about
like in a sense that we should try to get more involved in conversation in everyday life with, I don't know, radio or newspapers, but we're just, in our bubble.
I mean, the people that we want to listen are not going to listen to that radio where we are talking, and they're not going to listen to the panel where we're involved. I think I agree completely that everything comes from home, and I agree that this is something that cannot be changed like this, and it's a process. It's a very slow process. So in Tallinn, I can say that with each year, I don't know if this is a good thing, but we have a lot of kids just like moving from the countryside to the city, so the capital city. And this means more people in the capital city, less people outside, but so basically this means that we are like educating the younger generation who has decided to come to the big city and change their minds through what younger kids are best at doing, which is partying, and partying at the right places and seeing diversity, and kind of going maybe back to their conservative parents and being like, hey, I don't agree with your vision, and I'm not going to teach my kids to think like this, and I just believe that this is the only way. Some parents will accept it and then maybe understand, but I think it's a slow process.
Yeah, I think it brings us back to the one drip at a time that was said earlier, and I think we as a community or like this scene play an important role. I always call clubs like a washing machine, because like, for instance, if you come from a conservative background and you're not used to the way we behave within our community, like coming to these clubs can be a life-changing experience, because you can literally get confronted by like an utopia almost. And when you go out of these clubs, you can bring that home and you can spread this message. And I think that also goes very well with what you said earlier about maybe taking like easier content to drag some people in that would normally not visit these events, and they come out with a total different mindset. And I think that then we're full circle again. Do we have some questions from the audience? I think it's your time to shine, Giuseppe, with the mic.
Run.
Uh-oh. Always Giuseppe.
Trouble incoming.
There too. Oh, and there.
A lot of questions.
Hello. Thanks for all the amazing inputs. And grabbing this last topic, well, I think one of the ways to bring this out of the scene is definitely through education, and also bring it to your family, to your co-workers. Many people in the scene have jobs, and they can have, I think the only politics we can do and affect is the micro-politics. Everything is in our reach. But speaking of that, I would like to know from you, like, what has been done in a way of educating and also passing heritage for the younger generations in all aspects of the scene, not only artists, but also avoiding gatekeeping and instructing and passing it on.
Tricky one.
I think support the new artists, and don't be, because many promoters don't support the new artists because they don't bring people. But if you really believe in them, it's instantly, they explode all over. That's very important. Also, as Manu said, do campaigns like anti-drug or be on yourself. Campaigns are very important. They need to be very graphic so they understand they are young, they take it. And last, in Colombia, it's a really hard society, but when they are in techno, they feel in peace, and you can have all kinds of, you know, high people, poor people, all together, thanks to the music, and it takes really long time, but it's like that. So because some promoters are more like commercial, so tickets are very expensive, are not inclusive, and they try to separate, to segregate the society, and that's not the way to.
I'm not sure of my answer, to be honest, because I think it's a tricky question, because education is something that can be active or passive, you know, in the sense that you can just be around people behaving some way and you learn from them without having to be actively pushed to do something. So maybe just the first thing is to still be there as people, true to our roots, to be a kind of barrage to other malevolent people somehow. I feel this music emerged from small communities, and as long as you nurture them, they can actually educate themselves in that way. That, I mean, I didn't learn by some rules written in a club how to behave in a club. You know, I started going on when I was 15. I saw how my friends were behaving, what happened, how to take care of each other. And this is something that just was passed on passively. So I think as long as we can preserve spaces that have those values, of course there can be things done better, you know. You can try actively to do things better, to improve, but at some point, as you said, you come back home after a night and you take that with you. And so if you keep places that allow that, I think it will happen naturally.
Yeah, I think that's a right answer, because I grew up, the first time I went out was in 1987, and I went to Club Roxy, and when you entered there, everything that's discussed now was already normal. I mean, the candy girls were drag queens, there was trans people, there was naked gays, everything was there. So I grew up in that environment of going out, and that was for me normal. And yeah, of course, I guess if you go in a different environment, then that becomes normal. But indeed, if you just step into it from the day one that you go out and you see all these things, then it becomes a normality, I would say. At least for me, it did.
Thank you for the question. Anyone else who would like to ask something? See one hand over there, one hand over there.
No, it's in the same subject, because I've been in the scene for maybe 25 years. And one thing that I was trying to understand from the panel, because I heard like, okay, we want to continue with the roots, we wanted to maintain this pure. But also I think at the moment that we are now with social media, I think diversity and inclusivity is very important. It's not a mantra, it's what it is. And one thing I learned with my life is like we have space for everyone. And I think in techno we should have space for everyone. And people need to express themselves the way they feel it, and they need to experience at least one time. If they like it or not after the first time, it's up to them to decide. I wanted to hear about this perspective.
Thank you. I think there was one question over there. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for your contributions. My name's Lavinia. I'm here from Toronto, and I want to ask about gatekeeping as well, because I think it's a very uniquely European thing that certain people aren't allowed in the clubs sometimes. I feel like that's not a thing that happens back in North America. So I just want to ask, what is the line between gatekeeping and its negative manifestations, such as only allowing certain people that maybe just look like you or look a certain way in the clubs versus protecting a scene?
Good question. Yeah, I think it's difficult because sometimes you have marginalized groups and they need some protection because of how society is. But I think when we talk about inclusion and diversity, there are not only words, but there are also actions. So it's also about feeling social safety and accessibility and stuff like that. I think those are really important things to keep in mind when you're a promoter.
Maybe about gatekeeping, first thing is mistake happens. I think this is the first thing. You can have good intentions and the best intentions in the world, you might do some mistakes and you have to live with that idea as long as the purpose is to do good. There are some venues who might do some gatekeeping to be more elitarian. This is their choice. There are others who just do it to protect their audiences, to avoid having people who somehow would not really belong, or at least who the gatekeepers feel would not belong. This is where mistake can happen. As I said, I think the most important part is what are the intentions and what do you try to achieve while doing that? Is it to be elite and to keep really people outside, or is it to protect and to nurture something precious that is only happening in between your walls? I think also it's important to mention that in today's society, which is more and more controlling people, having a word to say on all your private happenings, clubs might be one of the few remaining places where people can truly be who they feel to be at that moment, to express themselves how they would like. And it's important to keep that free space. It's also that free space that allows you to come back with new social experiences and to maybe have, at some point, have another view on our world. So gatekeeping is somehow, how I feel it, mandatory to preserve that, even if some mistakes might happen.
So in Estonia, I mean, we cannot be too harsh with this because we need people in the club. So usually the way, so I think we're a good example of really choosing the people just because we have to know that they know where they are coming. We have to know that they know that this is a techno club and we're gonna have a specific type of music and we're gonna have people that feel that this is their home and this is their safe space. So if we're saying no, it's not about how you're dressed. It's really about the two questions we ask on the door and see, you know, what is your reaction to those questions? Do you understand why we're asking these questions? So yeah, we're not really saying, you know, you can come to Estonia, we're gonna let you in, you don't have to worry about that. And we're gonna probably even tell you why maybe we're not letting you in tonight. But I do realize that, you know, in more popular places, let's say, we can bring an example, Berlin is sometimes you just you fit in the club, but you're still scared. They're gonna say no. I mean, I work in a club. I've been doing this for 6 years and I'm scared of maybe they're not gonna let me in. So I understand that it's a bit of a complicated subject to understand. Yeah.
I think it's also pretty important to don't gatekeep too hard, because if we again only let the people in that already know about what's happening, even though it's better for social safety, but it's never going to touch these new souls that are going to spread the love, these messages, and make the world a more beautiful place. So yeah, I think this is...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we give a chance to a lot of people because we see that they are interested. But sometimes you just have that feeling, you understand they really don't know where they're coming to, and you know that they are just continuing from a commercial club that just closed, because maybe they closed a bit earlier, and they're just looking for the next place where to just be drunks and shout on the dance floor and look at someone that is a bit more vibrant and colorful and maybe say some comments, and you're just like, okay, I'm sorry, but we just see from how you even react from these questions that you might be aggressive and you're not gonna come here to understand what is this community we have here. Maybe next time.
What are these questions at the door that you ask?
Well, I'm not really on the door. Probably, we're not usually even asking, like, do you know who is playing? But the general question is, do you know where you are coming to? Like, what is this club about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Personal questions based on the appearance, yeah.
Because what it also is with gatekeeping is like sometimes those marginalized groups start something really small and something that's really precious, and then we only talk about gatekeeping when it becomes popular, and then because then everybody wants to join. But I think we should also respect that sometimes, especially if it started from the bottom, that they try to protect those spaces. So I think that's something important.
Yeah. I think that's also very necessary, unfortunately, but it is. Last question?
I think there are two.
Hi. I also represent a small club from Thailand, but my question is about bookings. How is there sustainability and cooperation between booking agencies and clubs? Is it possible?
Collaboration between booking agencies and clubs. Yeah. In which way do you mean?
The long cooperation, and I mean we're pretty young, small, so I don't know how it's sustainable in cooperation between bookings and clubs.
Every relationship is different, of course. I cannot talk for my other colleagues, but basically, if something is pleasurable and respectful. If the artists are happy and if the crowd is happy, then the collaboration is long. That's what we go for long relationships.
I guess this question was a bit more regarding the process that comes slightly before the show, the ones regarding negotiation possibility. So I guess this question was regarding create this kind of environment where the exchange is genuine and sustainable on both sides, from booking agency, artist and club. So then the event and the gig will be sustainable and successful for everyone.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure.
Maybe the question is, how do we approach if our situation is a bit harder and we know that, we're a smaller place and we need to maybe find a better deal, but it's not because we just want to pay less or...
No, I understand. So mostly promoters basically explain their situation and not every agent is going to listen. I can talk only for myself. I do read and I do always discuss with artists and I try to explain the situation, and sometimes they do agree to go and play for less. So for me it's important. It's not necessary that you're a big experienced promoter doing it for many years, but I do ask, is it your first event? I have my doubts when it's the first one. I prefer that it's not the first one, but if it's a third one, sure, then you had some experience, and if an artist is open for it, and many are, it's not an issue for me. So just be honest and explain the situation.
I think you said the right word, be honest. If you want to build a long relation, you need to be honest and to speak truth. And of course, not every club has the same capacity. Not every club can ask the same entrance fee. Not every artist brings the same amount of people. So it's really like talking straight. I mean, when I was doing bookings at Fuse, I had sometimes some heavy conversations with bookers, because of course they want to defend their artists, and those are agencies I was working daily with, you know, so but they want to defend their artist's interests. But then I said, okay, yeah, maybe he played there for that much money, but here I don't see this working, and this is not possible. Is it a deal breaker? Okay, fine, but we walk both happy with it because we knew it was the limit we could go. Maybe an idea is something that is coming more for the rock scene, and actually that is not happening that much in the electronic scene, is having smaller fixed fees and giving a percentage on the sales. Every big rock venue is paying artists just on the fee of the sales, which is not totally honest as well, because it's not the artist who should do the promotion work of the event. So there is a truth to be found in between, but maybe saying, okay, you want 10K for playing, I can give you 2 upfront and you have 10% of the door sale. Something like that, you know, or 50% of the door sale, whatever, but find something where everyone can live happy with. And this is the ground for a long relationship.
I sometimes do these deals as well, that we get a kickback on amount of people in the club, so that we make it a little bit more approachable for the promoter. But as I said, some artists are more open to it than others. You have to understand that a lot of these guys are also in the business for quite a while, and they've seen it all, and they are tired, and they want to protect their ears, and they want to be in the studio. So the offers sometimes have to be reasonable to some extent. Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, we try to balance, and there are enough artists that do want to be more flexible. So, bring it on.
I think there was one more question that I missed. Yeah, over there.
Hi everyone, thank you so much. You kind of started talking about now mitigating between the various parties and the bookers and the artists, and obviously figuring out based on the size of a venue and a lot of different things. Now my question is, identity and expressivity is also a matter of getting a diverse crowd and as many people into your space, and also allowing new people to come in and experience that. With the crisis of cost of living and tickets going up, this is also a class issue. How do you approach that?
Yes, so I think I already answered that a little bit. It all starts with accessibility and social safety. And accessibility for me is also like financial accessibility. For example, what we do, we offer like free tickets for people who don't have the financial means at the moment, or reduced tickets for people who can't afford it. Yeah, so people have to apply, but what we tell them, we try to take away some shame so that we don't ask questions, we don't ask if it's legitimate.
Yeah, it's a very nice one.
Yeah, and also about social safety, it's like you can have a lot of people in, but when they're in, they also need to feel safe. Because, for example, if someone is black, they need to feel safe that they can be there as a black person, or if someone's queer, that they can be there as a queer person. So I think it's not only about accessibility, but also really about social safety. And like when you have the people in, how can you ensure that they are safe when they are inside, so they have like a good experience?
And speaking for the club that I'm active for now, Lo-Fi, we had a bit of the same issue, and we tried to divide our programming in like 2 sections. So on Saturday we went for the bigger commercial events with bigger headliners, and that was our way to like generate the most money for the club. And we would invest that money in our Sundays, which would be an event for the community, which had lower ticket prices, which still had headliners, but mostly also local artists, to like have this collaboration again. But we really wanted to be a club where you not only could attend if you had enough money in your pocket, but also if you had less money to spend. And this is where the Sundays were for. And we made a kind of strategy as a circle. It's like with these bigger commercial things, we draw in the money, and then we invest a part of that money back into the community and try to put up affordable events, for instance.
I think you touched something quite interesting while talking about local artists, because I want to answer your question with another question. Why is it people only come for big names? When did people lost faith in a venue? When has a DJ been selling tickets instead of the venue? You know, yeah, there are some venues who try to do black events, no DJs announced, no one to be seen, because ultimately, why do people go out? To have a social experience together, to live a moment together. Can't this moment be living nicely with some local artists, you know? And so maybe there is some work to be done there as well to put pride again in smaller artists, in local ones that will be actually working their ass off because it's the first gig they have in that venue and they are just fucking exciting to play there. I'm not saying big names are lazy or bored to play. That's not what I mean, you know, but I think we went also in a trend of name dropping and just booking higher names, asking higher fees, of course because of festivals. And maybe there's something somehow that venues should work on to step back a little or to some event.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is already in the last period happening here in Amsterdam. Yeah. I mean, a lot of locals are getting booked a lot here. So that part good. You're saying is already, I think, happening.
It's happening here.
Yeah, and again, that also
yeah,
I'm suffering for that.
It's nice.
We are kind of trying to figure it out because I think, at least in our small country, I tend to say this every time, it's become maybe quite a challenge to understand how to educate people to understand, okay, you don't really have to just come because of the big artists. And yeah, I mean, I don't have an answer to this at the moment, but it's also quite a difficult challenge. And the funny thing is that very often people that come to these bigger events and hear the locals opening and then closing are saying very often that, wow, their sets were even better, but still not maybe coming to the event where they are in the headliner position or something. So, yeah, I mean, it's quite a complicated situation, at least at our place, but I'm happy to hear that this is changing here at least.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
so I think what's difficult is because people are already used to it, to the big names. So, but we're in Amsterdam, what we did, there were a couple promoters who just started with giving events, and then they said, trust us, just come to our party, and then you will enjoy. And then, yeah, it worked out. But I agree, it's harder when people are already used to have big names on the lineup and then to bring it back.
I think this was, again, something that just happened after COVID.
Yeah.
Because, if you became famous on the internet, it was easy to promote you, and all the kids just were used to seeing your face and hearing your videos, not even sets, but videos.
I think also the other way around, because COVID, when all the big DJs were just sitting at home in their studios waiting till the pandemic was over, clubs were closed, festivals were not happening. There were also a lot of illegal raves happening here and so in Berlin as well. And the big names wouldn't show up there. So what happened is that you got these grassroots communities that that was the only thing that young people could do. So they would go to these raves, and these promoters are now throwing events in clubs, but they're still taking on these local artists that were playing the raves, and the community that they built during the pandemic is also what they took into the clubs eventually. So I think it went a little bit both ways. We got top down and bottom up. It's all about balance in the end, I guess.
Big up to Amsterdam.
All right. Well, since we're already 20 minutes over time.
There is one more question there, though.
Are we allowed to do? Yeah?
Thank you, Giuseppe.
Yeah, I have a question. In the Netherlands, there's between bookers, there's a rule of booking a female person or a person of color on the lineup. And I was wondering, what's your opinion about that? Because I see and I hear a lot of bookers talking about it, and I was wondering, what's your opinion on booking?
Well, it's good that we are more aware and busy with it. It should have always been, going out of itself, you'd say. But at the same time, when you look at my roster, I was just looking at the music, and in the end, it is predominantly a male roster. I do have all sorts of colors, and I also have women and gay, but I never selected artists based on this. it was about the music. So it's a little bit of a dilemma. How do you approach this? Also at the office, it was about the personal connection and the qualities that the person has. And in the end, I had different nationalities, and male and female and gay and Moroccan, and doesn't matter. But at the same time, during the pandemic, an organization of booking agents in the Netherlands got together and we created AUMA, which is United Independent Music Agents. Not only techno or electronic music, but also bands, jazz and metal, everything together. And one of the topics that we are busy with is inclusivity and diversity, because we are aware it doesn't happen out of itself, and that we as people at the base of the scene have this power to encourage promoters, organizations to book in a certain way. At some point, it was really a male world. When I started a booking agency, it was also really a male world. And these days, there are more female bookers. But it's still a male world.
Yeah, but it's also like when I saw Club Basis, you probably know, in Utrecht. They had like the lineup released, and there was somebody commenting like, "Oh, why is there like no females, of like almost no females on the list?"
Because there are amazing female DJs these days as well. But yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, when there is like a lineup with like certain people that are playing, and there is like one spot left, and it's perfect for the like one artist that fits like completely in the lineup, but it's a male, and they don't book them because they already they need a female on the lineup. So I was like, sometimes also in the Netherlands there are like so many good women and people of color that make like music, but so my like opinion on it, if one person fits on the lineup, I think like he or she,
it's very relative.
Like,
there are so many options, and I think if we don't do anything about it, things are not going to get better. I think we also don't realize in what kind of privileged situations we live. Some of us don't know how it is to have different color, like black or yellow or whatever, or to be gay. It's a world of white privileged men, if I may say.
I think maybe the issue is also that the fact that we have been having now like more diverse lineups and have started to promote it than people that, female artists or whatever different or what from the male white have had the courage to actually come maybe more out. And before they would not do it because they would feel that this is a male job. So if you feel that, your lineup misses someone a bit diverse, maybe, of course, if you feel that male, white, whatever, is gonna like fit perfectly because of music, sure, but you have to also ask yourself, have you done research enough to find someone that could also fit there and be diverse, to bring diversity in the lineup? Because it's only now that we've, us females, for example, me as a DJ also, I just got more courage thanks to this rule to show myself a bit more, to talk to my male friends, promoters, saying that there are no female DJs, and me being like, no, you have just not done your research, man. Like, there are really good DJs, female DJs, gay DJs, whatever. So people, there are so many people, and there are so many DJs, and they're all very different, so.
I mean, everyone is a DJ nowadays.
Everyone is a DJ
so it
nowadays,
shouldn't be that hard.
anyway,
I mean,
so-
is there only really just one person that can fill that spot, or like you said, did you just not do enough research?
Check Female Pressure. It's a nice collective, and they started with all this without being hype many years ago. Before, like now it's a hype, like to be like diverse, but this collective, they were the pioneers doing it without being like a. So they do a really nice curation.
I don't think it's a hype, but I think some promoters use it as a token, as like a box you can.
Yeah, like a cool thing. It's a cool thing
that's
to do.
true. And that's not anymore about the music, exactly.
Yeah. But I think if you really believe in like diversity and inclusivity, sometimes you need to do some harder work to find like those people to create those lineups. And like you said, it also gives like people from those groups like an example of oh, if she can be a DJ, maybe I can also be a DJ. And I think sometimes talking about a male, we forget that that's important for young females to see like a DJ female play, so they have some kind of role model. But yeah, we should definitely always keep music first and stay away from tokenism.
Again, I guess it's all about intention.
Yeah.
That's the most important. I think this is a beautiful way to end this panel. Thank you so much all for your time, your energy, your input. I wish everyone here a great week and an amazing ADE.
Thank you. Thank you.